Good Erev Shabbos. As we prepare for Shabbat now, I believe that we are dealing with not one, but actually two pandemics. The first one, the main one, is obvious. It's on everybody's lips, on everybody's Facebook page and in their Twitter feeds. It goes by the name COVID-19. And we have an important directive as Jews to safeguard ourselves from it, v'chai b'hem, to live by the dictates of the Torah. No greater value than life for us as Jewish people. There is a second layer, however, a second pandemic that I believe is making the rounds now that is much more subtle. It's secondary, but it still counts. It's called fear. For those of us who are checking on regular intervals, sometimes at quickening paces over time, the last few days, but what's going on elsewhere in the globe, but reports from this community or that, fear starts to take on a life of its own. As I've heard from a number of members of our shul, it has actually become paralyzing. But we need to live. We need to function for ourselves, for our children, and for tomorrow. Granted, from a halachic vantage point, when there's ikar and tafel, the primary and the secondary, ikar comes first. It is the main thing. But that doesn't mean that the tafel is nothing. And I believe that at this hour, it is crucial as we go into Shabbat to recognize this reality. The letter that I sent you that is below this video has guidelines and directives. All of them, in addition to the decision that I have taken to keep our shul open this Shabbat, again, only against the backdrop of those guidelines. The decision and the guidelines, all, herald from infectious disease doctors with whom I've consulted over the last 48 hours and as recently as a few hours ago, as well as with the Skokie Health Department, with whom I've been in constant contact over the last number of days. These are trying and challenging times, but we're going to get through this. More updates after Shabbat, or perhaps on Sunday morning, but I hope that each of us can take this opportunity over Shabbat to know that we are indeed in a Kadosh Baruch Hu's hands. The Tefillah V'Shamru B'nai Yisrael Shabbat that we read each Friday night and is in our Kiddush and our Shemona Esrei in the morning is actually taken from Parshat Kitisa. We have a covenant with Hashem. And we have to have a certain sense of emunah, even as we are incredibly vigilant about the main pandemic of COVID-19, but also holding in check the secondary pandemic of fear. In closing, I want to mention also that Rabbi Nachman of Breslov was very famous for having said that the whole world is a very narrow bridge. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. Many people mistranslate the second part of that statement in the Likutei Moharan as, but the main thing is to recall is to have no fear at all. That's not what his Sefer says. It says, V'haklal v'ha'ikar. The principle and the main thing is not to make oneself afraid. And that's challenging in these challenging times. With a sense of emunah, and with a sense that we are acting as responsibly as we can, not taking our own decisions fueled by fear and anxiety, but first and foremost, listening to those whose life's work is in medical fields, infectious diseases, and public health. Wishing everyone a Shabbat filled with peace and tranquility. Shabbat Shalom.